ஹாய் ஹலோ காய்ஸ், வெல்கம் பேக் டு கிரேசி நியூஸ். ஸோ இது உங்களுக்கான நியூஸ் சேனல்.
I need you to stay quiet. This is a me thing. It is not a we thing. You got that?
Fine, but make it quick.
Open on 5.
One of, I think, our great hopes for future films is other articulations of Venom.
As fans of the comics will know, Carnage is the bond between Cletus Cassidy, a serial killer, and the Red Symbiote. And so this movie will introduce Cletus Cassidy.
Hi, Eddie.
Carnage is the promise of the Venom character taken to the next level. So, going into Venom, you were hoping that there'd be carnage. And they delivered in a very delightful way that made you go, all right, I'll give you more of my money if you do this again.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. We have a whole bunch of new Venom, Carnage, and Spider-Man stuff to talk about. They're currently filming Venom 2 right now. Tom Hardy's been posting some previews from behind the scenes, so we'll break it all down. There's also news about what's going on with Spider-Man. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's going to be a lot of Spider-Man stuff happening next year, and we're doing a Marvel giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your best Spider-Man Venom theory on the video. I'll name a new winner at the end of this. So obviously in that clip, they're just talking about setting up the Carnage character at the end of the Venom movie, just teasing a big Venom versus Carnage fight. It started out as a pretty simple concept, but now it's become a much bigger thing because of all the Marvel and Sony stuff that happened this past summer. So for a little while, we all saw Spider-Man left the MCU. Tom Holland says that he got really drunk at a pub, got on the phone with Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, and cried about bringing Spider-Man back to the MCU and doing right by the fans. Bob Iger gets on the phone with the Sony president and they fix everything. Spider-Man is back in the MCU with a brand new sharing deal. I'll play that clip of Tom Holland talking about getting drunk on the phone with Bob Iger in a second. Hands down, best way to bring Spider-Man back into the MCU. Just get rip-roaring drunk while you're talking to one of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry. But the thing that everybody'd really been hoping for this entire time is to finally see Spider-Man show up in a movie with Venom, see them cross over, even if he's not going to wear the symbiote right away. Just to see them together on screen would be amazing. Before all the drama, it didn't seem like that was going to be realistic, but now, because of their new sharing deal between Marvel and Sony, it actually seems like they are planning on doing that way faster than we ever saw. So right now, the Venom 2 movie has been shooting scenes that will be set in and around New York City. The movie itself is filming in London, but they're making some scenes that they're filming right now look like they're being shot in New York City. There's a couple big Easter eggs in the stuff that they're doing. I'll explain that in a second, but this is that funny clip of Tom Holland talking about getting drunk to save Spider-Man.
I don't know. We had a really good plan with what we were going to do with Sony. The future of Spider-Man was still very bright, but it would have been a shame to take him out of the MCU, Right. He's where he belongs, and we've built such a strong character in that world, and it would have been a shame to lose that, but I'm just really glad that we managed.
Boy, I'm really glad you got drunk and got on the phone with Bob.
I know, yeah. And then my family and I went to the pub quiz, and I get a phone call from an unknown number, and I have a feeling, I think this is Bob Iger, but I'm drunk. So anyway, so my dad's like, just take the call, you'll be fine. And then he said, there is a world in where we can make this work. And then there was a bunch of phone calls back and forth from Tom Rothman. He was really instrumental in the process. And it was really interesting for me to have these two, studio heads, what do you think?
Well, I think Bob said you cried on the phone. Is that true?
I weeped.
Did you really?
No, I didn't weep. I did, yeah.
You did, a little bit?
One of Spider-Man's finest saves, although I would not recommend getting drunk on the phone with people that hold the power over your contract. So the really cool stuff that's happening right now on the Venom set is that they're filming scenes at the St. Estes home for boys. Most of you longtime Spider-Man comic book fans and Carnage fans will recognize that that is the orphanage where Cletus Cassidy was raised as a boy. So presumably there's either going to be a flashback there or they'll have an action scene there set in present day. And they're setting things in and around New York City. They're slowly moving the Venom character into the periphery of where Spider-Man is. Remember what he said during that Venom Carnage post-credit scene. When I get out of here, there's going to be carnage. So in the comics, after Cletus Kasady got the Carnage symbiote, one of the first things he did when he went on his rampage was destroy that orphanage. If you haven't heard anything about the Morbius movie that Sony is doing too, it's sort of a Venom spin-off movie with Jared Leto playing the Morbius character from the comics. That movie is also supposed to take place in and around New York City, so you could see that Sony was already sort of intending on setting their Venomverse in and around New York City. It only made sense that eventually you would start to see Spider-Man show up in those films.
I don't know. We had a really good plan with what we were going to do with Sony. The future of Spider-Man was still very bright.
Whatever their long-term plan was before the Sony-Marvel drama, originally, people assumed that we wouldn't see Spider-Man show up with Venom in one of those movies like Maximum Carnage eventually for a long, long time. But that might be happening way faster now because of the terms of their news sharing deal between Marvel and Sony. Spider-Man has 2 more MCU movies now, including Spider-Man 3. That'll be inside the MCU, and then there'll be a crossover movie during Marvel Phase 4 that they haven't announced yet. Just mystery movie, speculate all you want about what that's going to be. But right after the powers that be confirmed that Spider-Man was back in the MCU a little while ago, Tom Hardy separately posted this picture of himself to his Instagram wearing a Spider-Man Iron Spider costume. So 1, it's kind of funny to see him do that, but 2, this was also happening while they were ramping up to hire Andy Serkis and start shooting the Venom sequel. So you have all this Spider-Man and Venom stuff happening behind the scenes, and suddenly Venom himself, Tom Hardy, is running around inside an MCU costume. Earlier this year, while Kevin Feige was doing press for Spider-Man Far From Home, before all the drama started, he was asked point blank if Sony was going to use Tom Holland's Spider-Man in their Venom movies, and he said yes, probably, but that would be their deal and he wouldn't have much involvement in it. At the time, most of us just assumed that meant he was trying to say that Venom would not be part of the MCU, so any Spider-Man Venom crossover would be sort of its separate thing and they wouldn't consider it canon to the Marvel movies. He later changed his comments after the Spider-Man drama when they signed that new sharing deal. His direct quote now, and this was published in Deadline, read, "Spider-Man is now the only character who can travel between cinematic universes," which is a joke about the Marvel MCU multiverse and the way they intend on handling Spider-Man jumping back and forth between Venom movies and MCU movies. And if that doesn't get you more excited, he was at Brazil Comic-Con just a couple weeks ago talking about Marvel Phase 4. He said that the multiverse would be the future of the MCU over the next several years, their next big story device that they're using. The way that all the Hollywood news trades were explaining Marvel and Sony's crossover plan for Spider-Man and Venom, they called it a call and answer system, where Spider-Man would appear with Venom in a Venom movie at some point. Sony is allowed to reference the events of the MCU Spider-Man movies as much as they want, like Mysterio, the Vulture, Avengers Endgame, the Snap, him dying, coming back to life, big things like that. Then after that Venom crossover movie that Sony does, when Spider-Man comes back into another MCU movie again, Marvel is allowed to reference the stuff that happened to him in that Venom crossover. But from what they're saying, Tom Hardy himself won't jump back and forth between MCU movies and Sony Venom movies. It'll just be Tom Holland jumping back and forth between universes, and they'll treat it like a multiverse story, like the Venom movies are happening in an alternate universe. Tom Holland already confirmed that there was a plan for something like this in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He was going to record scenes as if it was his version of MCU Spider-Man appearing in a crossover in that film. They wound up scrapping that plan at the last minute, but it just lets you know that that's already how they were intending on handling crossover. Oh, it's all part of this giant multiverse. Right now, as far as what the Sony people and the Marvel people have said, Venom 2 is just them doing the Carnage origin story and Venom vs. Carnage with a couple lesser side characters thrown in, like they added the Shriek character as Cletus Kasady's girlfriend before he becomes Carnage. But if Tom Hardy himself is teasing a little bit of MCU Spider-Man just having some fun with the fans, and some of Venom 2 will take place in and around New York City, early prediction, they start referencing actual Tom Holland Spider-Man at some point during that film, either in a post-credit scene or in the background of one of the scenes in New York, like on a newspaper. The other really cool rumor that's going around too is that Sony intends on using J. Jonah Jameson, the new version that appeared at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, is this sort of thread through the Sony and the Marvel films. I'll do more Venom and Spider-Man videos as we start to learn more about what's going on with the next movie, but leave your requests in the comments below. Congratulations, David Petritz. You're the giveaway winner for my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Everyone, click here for that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 teaser trailer, and click here for my new Mandalorian Episode 6 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.